Art Insecurities. Oh boy. Let's get into it. So, this is probably the embodiment of my art insecurity. Right here. This sketchbook, this daunting, big boy of a sketchbook is probably one of my art insecurities. And yeah, for the last month in October, I made it my mission that every time I wanted to draw, I was not going to pick up my iPad and I was going to draw in this sketchbook. And I think I did a decent job. So I'm going to flip through just a little bit so you guys can just see kind of what I've been doing. And I'm going to just continue on with today's video or with whatever I end up doing. So yeah, things aren't going to look pretty, but you know, they're there. And I think that, I don't know, maybe to like just any other person, it might not look like much, but to someone like me, this is a lot more than I thought that I would ever do, especially in a short amount of time. So I'm pretty happy, and it's a great motivator even when things don't turn out too well. I can look back at it, realize, you know, my mistakes, and just kind of move on. And don't get too discouraged about it, and, you know, continue practicing, especially with different art mediums. So yeah, I know we have some failures, but you know, we have some semi-successes as well. So I'm ready to move on to the next page and kind of see what I'm going to do. So I'm going to talk about my art insecurities. The first part of the footage that you're going to see will be me just kind of showing the quick process of me coloring this piece in, because I have the footage and I don't really know what to do with it. And then we're going to continue on working in the sketchbook. So I'm going to send it over to voice over me, but I hope you guys like this video, and thank you guys so much for watching.
Hi, so it is voice over me. I just want to apologize quickly if my voice sounds a little bit weird. I am sick. But yeah, art insecurities. I think a lot of people just in general have a bunch of insecurities, which is just kind of human nature. It's, you know, not something weird to have, if that makes any sense. And a lot of people struggle with the insecurities, you know, in their day-to-day lives, and that's just something that you have to slowly but surely overcome. But in this aspect, or in this sense, let's talk about some art insecurities that I personally have and how I'm dealing with them. I think the biggest, not the biggest, but I think one common art insecurity that a lot of people have is just kind of the feeling of not being good enough, feeling like a fraud, maybe even imposter syndrome. And I feel like that will then negatively affect how you do art in the future, how you pursue it, how you create it, how you end up viewing it. Yeah, I think that it's kind of hard not to feel insecure about your art style, especially when you compare it to other people, especially when, like, on social media, and especially when you're surrounded by other artists. I think that's something that's really hard to do. And I suffered with that during my first year back in 2020 when I decided to, or like late 2019 to 2020, when I decided to pursue kind of art a little bit more consistently. And I remember at the time that I started like posting on Instagram, which is my main I guess art program, or no, the main social media that I post my art in, but I might switch over to Twitter more. But regardless, I remember when I first started on Instagram, and I remember seeing some of the artists that I, you know, at the time associated myself with. Like, we all started around the same time, because, you know, it was in the middle of the pandemic. It was a lot easier to kind of get into this profession a little bit more, especially since you're home all the time. You have more, I don't know, time to create art and stuff. And I remember when I was seeing all the people that I associate with, that they were growing, I kind of felt stuck. I kind of felt like, okay, my art is probably not good enough because they're growing and I'm not. And I think it became a lot worse when I was put into this I don't know how to explain the same sphere as them, like group chats and things like that. And I'm joining challenges and I'm with these same exact people and I'm like, I should not be here. I'm not good enough. And I think it just made it a lot worse where since there were so many people in like said group chat or group chats, it was hard to stick out. So that made that feeling just even more worse because I wasn't like, getting likes or wasn't getting comments, but I was doing everything I can to help other people get likes and comments, and I feel like I wasn't given that in return. And I think that just made me a lot more insecure about my art and stuff like that. And I think that deterred me from wanting to do challenges, and join stuff like other art groups and things like that. But how did I overcome that? One, I stopped seeing social media as like this end all be all, like this award, like this I don't know how to explain it, but like the likes and the comments and the views didn't change the fact. Like, it didn't change anything. It didn't change how I draw. It didn't change why I draw. You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like this highest pristine award that I needed to reach towards, at the end of every art piece that I did. And plus, it also made it a little bit more easier to come to terms with this, with the fact that Instagram just in the last couple of years have been really bad for just anyone, but like, since I'm talking about art, it's been really bad for artists in general to be posting and, maybe even gaining some sort of audience or community. So I think just having that knowledge and also trying to keep in mind of why I did art in the first place. I mean, art was a form of art therapy for me. So keeping these stuff in mind, it just made it a lot easier to, kind of like, I don't like heal a little bit, if that is the proper way to say it. I'm not insecure about feeling like a fraud. I don't have imposter syndrome. I try to get better by studying artists now, and I don't have this kind of negative mindset of I'm not good enough anymore. And I've been stuck around the same range for the last 2 years, like 50 to 70 followers, and nothing has changed. But I still post my art because that's something I want to do, and I'm still consistent with it, at least on like the YouTube sense. And I try to have a lot more fun because I'm young. I'm 19 years old. There's no reason why I should be stressed over something that, especially like this craft that I'm not really trying to pursue professionally. Like, art is just more of like something I would like to continue doing for the rest of my life, but not in the professional sense of like working in like TV, animation, etc., etc. Just kind of more of like doing my own thing. And it just makes it a lot more easier and a lot more stress-free when I think that this is for me, this is about me, this is not about someone else. And when I keep that in mind, it actually helped me feel less insecure about not being good enough. So talking about this process a little bit before I continue on, I saw this thing on Pinterest, this reference picture. I really, really liked it. And I made it like more of a habit for me that whenever I do want to draw, try to do it in my sketchbook as opposed to digitally, just so I can use my sketchbook a lot more. And I made that as a challenge for myself in October. So this was filmed somewhere mid-October. And so I'm putting this in this video because I just didn't really have any idea of what to do with the footage, since it's just me using these markers. But I'm using a mixture of, or mainly I think it's Vigor Fun alcohol markers, and a little bit of my Arteza alcohol skin tone markers as well. I'm just coloring it. Nothing too special, but I'm practicing. I think like doing this, every once in a while to practice will help me get better with using markers and be able to do more and more full color illustration spreads. Another art insecurity of mine is kind of not switching up what I draw or what I drew, or like kind of feeling stuck with only drawing the same thing. I'm a firm believer, and this might be like an unpopular art opinion, or whatever, but I am a firm believer that you should switch things up every once in a while. Like, you shouldn't continue to always draw the same exact thing, because I feel like, I don't know, I feel like even if you're not pursuing art professionally, like trying to get into the animation field, maybe you want to work in a comic book industry or etc., etc., I do think as a form of practice and study, it's good to switch things up. So, like, if you never drew, I don't know, food before, like, try that. Or you never did backgrounds, try that. Or animals, like, try that. I don't know. That's an unpopular opinion, but I don't really like, I don't know, I don't want to be rude, but I like artists who draw various different things instead of the same thing over and over again. And I kind of felt insecure with my art because it was weird that I felt that way when I myself, at least posting wise, don't share anything beyond the same or similar things in my art. And so I kind of felt like, oh my God, I feel like a fraud for thinking something like that and not actually implementing it. And then when I thought about it, I was like, like, how can I switch it up a little bit? And if you, I don't know, seen any of my social media stuff, I tend to do a lot of character art, character design, maybe costume design, not really concept design, but, you know, stuff in that realm. And I love doing that. And don't get me wrong, even when switching things up, I still tend to do stuff like that because I just really love designing characters. But yeah, I felt kind of stuck. I'm like, okay, this is great and all, but I feel like I could do more, especially what I envision myself doing. I feel like I could do a lot more, but I don't put the time into doing it. And so I was like, I'm gonna stop doing character design work all of the summer, like my summer break, and try to do more illustrative work. And in obviously, like, doing illustrative work, I'm still doing like a character piece because, you know, that character is a subject, but it's not more like character design and full body piece. Some of them are half body. You know, I was really practicing my rendering skills for clothing. I was really practicing my rendering skills for background, especially since I do want to eventually put out a comic book or webtoon or something, a webcomic. And so I feel like, you know, taking the time to practice these stuff slowly would make it a lot easier when I actually end up doing it sometime in the future. So that's what I did. And I made a lot of videos on just me doing some of these illustrative works because, you know, killing two birds with one stone, work smarter, not harder. I drew an art piece. I can easily make it into a video. Done. Yes, I did a lot of them. I did some fan arts. Some of them I didn't post. Some of them I cut to myself because some of them are just like studies and things like that. But I really liked the pieces that I did. I liked to the point that, like, for the first time ever, I actually made my own artwork, my home screen and my lock screen. My home screen is the Usopp One Piece fan art that I did, and then my lock screen is this recreation of a reference that I saw on Princess of this black girl, I'm assuming sitting in the New York subway train. I'm from New York. It looked like a New York subway train seat, so that's why I called it that. But yeah, so an art insecurity of mine, feeling kind of stuck in drawing the same exact thing. I overcame that by giving myself a challenge over the summer to not do character design work and do some more illustrative pieces, practicing my renders for different aspects that I don't really put too much attention towards. And then after, like, I was practicing all of that, I went back to doing some character design work, and I'm going back and forth to doing character design stuff and just basic illustrations and everything else in between. Another art insecurity of mine is traditional art. I don't know. It's so scary to me, which is surprising because I started art traditionally, and it wasn't until 2020 when I decided to do stuff consistently with my art that I was like, I have an iPad, let me just attempt to do digital art. It might not go well, but, you know, traditional art is, I always have that to fall back in. And ever since then, I just, like, stuck with digital art being my main, like, drawing medium. And I still did traditional art. Like, I have, like, sketchbook tour videos on the channel and everything, but it wasn't like, I kind of felt like I was forcing myself to keep up my traditional habits, because I kind of felt like I kind of felt bad for abandoning it. I kind of felt bad for just like leaving it alone and not practicing it, and it just kind of felt like I was obligated to do it. So I wanted to change that mindset and actually have fun doing traditional art again, and not just do it because I needed to do it, but do it because I wanted to do it. And I felt kind of insecure, like none of my sketchbooks were coming out in the way I envisioned. But it's because like I just assumed that I'm gonna get to the end product or the end goal of how I want my sketchbook to look like, and I actually practiced different techniques and stuff to kind of implement or get to that point, if that makes any sense. So I, took a step back. When I started this sketchbook, this particular one that you see me drawing or painting in right now, I gave myself a challenge in October: no digital art, only traditional. And then you saw in the beginning of the video, and I flipped through it. That's what I had so far in the month of October, but I'm pretty proud of myself, because usually in the past, I probably only did 1 or 2 pages in a month and moved on. I was able to do several pages in 1 month. And I think that now I have the option of like whether to do traditional art, whether to do digital art. And on top of that, another insecurity of mine is different art mediums, and not being able to like paint properly, and not being able to use alcohol markers properly. And I have so much art supplies like color pencils, Sharpie, markers, paint, and everything else in between. And I kind of felt insecure, like I wasn't able to use these mediums properly, and wasn't able to actually just ever use them. I felt like they were going to waste, especially since a lot of them were supplies that were given to me by my work, my job. And so I overcame that insecurity by, like I said, just always doing traditional art and practicing. Specifically here, you see me do gouache. This is probably like the 3rd time I have used gouache in this sketchbook, I think. I'm trying to remember. And, still, it's not looking the way that I envisioned, but I'm not getting insecure or stuck or discouraged about it. Like, I just keep using it again and again and again. Same thing with the markers. I probably used the markers 2 or 3 times in my sketchbook as of now. And at least for the markers, they're faring a lot better than the paints, because I just understand how to use them better and proper. But still, like, I'm taking that time to, like, even if the pieces end up good, I don't get discouraged about it, and I move on and continue practicing. And I don't know, to me, I feel like I'm slightly understanding a lot of things better. Even if my art is not coming out good, like, I'm understanding things. I think I have more knowledge to try to make the next piece even better than the last, and like just kind of keep moving on. And then also like obviously studying and things like that. So yeah, art insecurity was traditional art and not really utilizing different art mediums besides digital. And I overcame that by giving myself a challenge to only do traditional art for a specific amount of time. And despite the fact that my art might not look good, I keep on practicing and using those art mediums over and over again, because I don't want them to go to waste. Anyways, I'm very excited for the fact that I was able to like utilize the different art mediums that I had prior, plus buy these new markers and the gouache paint to kind of just help in this endeavor, in this new journey of mine. So yeah, to talk about the process that you see a little bit here, I really love digitally painting fruits and different aspects of food. And so I wanted to paint something this day, but I didn't really know what to do. And I didn't want to set myself up to do a large, like, full page painting, because I had a short amount of time. And plus, that's just not something I wanted to do at that moment. But I did really want to paint. And so I just pop in something to watch on the TV, and I decided to let me attempt to paint fruit, because I really like doing it digitally. And I thought that I might like to do it traditionally as well. It was a lot more difficult to do it traditionally. I don't think it's because I didn't know how to paint, but I'm still figuring out the right way to use gouache. But I honestly, despite everything, I just have like a blast. Even if I'm not maybe doing it right, or it's not coming out right, I have a blast using gouache. And I'm really happy that I took that step and made this purchase myself to get this art medium because, I don't know, it makes me so happy every time I open up my gouache set and attempt to use it. So, yeah. There's nothing much to say about this spread at all. I think the best ones that came out of this is probably the avocado and maybe the upper right, the lime. But yeah, I don't know. That's just that. Okay, and I think a last insecurity of mine is my graphic tablet. And that might seem a little bit weird because it's still digital art. It's just not on my like iPad that I traditionally or typically use. But this actually pen tablet that I bought myself a year ago to start doing comic book work on has been a big insecurity of mine just for how big and frightening it looks, if that makes any sense. And, there's reasons why I haven't had the most opportunities to use it. Either not having proper space to put it up, and it's just easier to use my iPad because I can sit cozily down on the couch or on my bed. And so, those are my typical reasons not using it. But, my main reason is just kind of feeling insecure, kind of feeling like I'm not good enough for something like this. And I struggled a lot with wanting to sell it. And it's practically brand new since I barely use it. Maybe three to less than 10 times in the last year since I bought it. But because of my iPad that I'm using right now, it's not working anymore. I had this iPad given to me back in middle school, and now my sophomore year of college, my first semester of my sophomore year in college. So I've had it for a really long time. It's a standard iPad, but it's a 9.7 inch, which is the size that Apple doesn't make anymore. And yeah, so it's not going so well. And I struggled back and forth with contemplating whether to buy a new iPad, but I have this XP Pen tablet. I feel like even if I buy a new iPad, this will go to waste. I really do want a new iPad because I think Procreate is like probably the best art software that I've ever used, and Procreate is only an Apple product. But yeah, I decided that, you know what, I'm going to overcome this insecurity because I kind of need to, because this iPad is on its last leg. It's not going to last much longer. I don't even think it's going to go into the end of the year. And so I need to be able to transition a little bit more seamlessly. And so I need to use Clip Studio Paint a lot more. I know Ibis just got like a Windows version, so I'm going to go ahead and check that out because Ibis Paint X is also another art software that I used kind of on my iPad. And so, yeah, I'm going to make a whole video of just kind of like my a year in impressions of my tablet and of Clip Studio Paint itself. After like a year later. But yeah, I overcame this insecurity by every time I wanted to draw like digitally after October ended, the start of November when I wanted to draw digitally, I just took on my XP Pen tablet. Also, I did a lot of practice studies, and instead of doing them on my iPad, I did them on my XP Pen tablet. So you're gonna see you might see I recorded one of my study practices for this that year video I just mentioned. But yeah, and I think adding on to that, a connection to this is also like backgrounds. I really suck at backgrounds. I haven't actually taken the time to do them. And so a lot of my study practices that I did digitally, there were mainly like screenshots with backgrounds, like environments. And I don't think so far any of them have, like, the subject isn't a person, it's an animal, or there's no like subject at all. It's just the background itself. And I think it's going to help me a lot for when I, start doing comic book work, because I have more practice to do backgrounds. And my sister actually commissioned me to do some comic book work for her. I'm mainly a book cover, but I'm also like redesigning some of her characters, just so it flows a little bit better for myself when I'm actually designing this comic book cover for her. I don't know if I'm going to be helping her with the majority of the comic book, if I'm drawing it or not. I'm not exactly sure. We haven't talked about that. But, all of this that I've been doing is helping me come up to this stage in my life where I want to get into comic book work or webcomic work. And, right now in the stage of my life, this is where it's starting. And I feel like, steering a little bit away from character design work, practicing my renders, practicing my backgrounds, using different art mediums has led me up to this point right now, and I'm pretty happy with where I'm at right now. Yeah. I've been sick for like about, I don't know, a week or 2 weeks now, so I haven't been able to draw as much as I would love, but I'm taking it very slow, and I'm doing as much as I can, but I'm really happy with just life in general. I'm happy where I'm at in my art, and I'm satisfied. And I think that's something that I have to keep in mind. Like, at the end of the day, am I satisfied? Am I happy? Because this was a form of art therapy for me. That's why I got into art. And if I keep forgetting that, I'm going to end up getting discouraged and not wanting to do art anymore. And that would absolutely suck for me. So, yeah. There's about like a couple minutes left of this video, so I'm gonna let the rest play out. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you feel comfortable, share your art insecurities or share how you overcame certain art insecurities. And yeah, I hope you guys liked the painting. I hope you guys liked the marker coloring process that I did overall. Thank you guys so much for watching. It really means a lot. Like, comment, subscribe, or share the video. And then I will see you in the next video. Have an amazing day. Peace. Bye. Okay, so this is the end of it all. I don't really have any words, but slowly, very, very slowly, I am working through just understanding gouache and not perfecting anything, but just kind of understanding it and evolving just a little bit. It's gonna be a struggle and a challenge, but I am up for it. And yeah, I'm so ready to just continue doing a lot more practice. With that said, thank you guys so much for watching. It really does mean a lot. Continue on this art journey with me, as well as continue watching any of our other videos, and just continue watching my sister and I's, both of our art journeys. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you liked the video, and Jen and I will see you in the next one. Have an amazing day. Peace. Bye.